Hey, I'm really glad you're here. After you listen to this story, please share your thoughts in the comments. Hearing what you think truly means a lot to me. I'm still shaking as I type this, sitting in a hotel room with a half-empty bottle of wine and a pile of wrapping paper I tore off in a rage. It's Christmas night, and instead of being surrounded by family, I'm alone, wondering if I'm the villain in this story, or if my husband's family pushed me too far. I took all the gifts I brought to their house, every single one, before I left. It felt like justice in the moment, but now I'm second-guessing everything. Was I wrong? It started this morning, bright and early. I woke up at 5 a.m. to make sure everything was perfect. My husband, Tom, and I were driving 3 hours to his parents' house for Christmas, something we've done every year since we got married 5 years ago. I spent weeks planning, buying thoughtful gifts, wrapping them in that glittery paper his mom loves, even baking 2 pies from scratch because his sister Emily is allergic to store-bought crust. I wanted to be the good daughter-in-law, the one who fits in, who makes everyone happy, but every year it's like I'm auditioning for a role I'll never get. Tom's family is intense. His mom, Diane, has this way of smiling that doesn't reach her eyes, and his dad, Greg, barely speaks unless it's to criticize something I've done. Emily's worse. She's got this passive-aggressive streak that cuts like a knife, and Tom's brother, Mike, just follows their lead. Tom's the only one who ever seems to notice me trying, but even he gets quiet when they start in on me. I thought this year would be different. I thought I'd finally crack the code with the perfect gifts and the homemade pies. We got to their house around 10 a.m., and I was already on edge. Diane greeted us at the door with this tight little smile and said, "Oh, you brought pies again?" Brave. I laughed it off, but it stung. I spent hours on those. The living room was decked out. Lights, tinsel, a tree so big it barely fit under the ceiling. Everyone was already there, sipping coffee and exchanging presents. I handed out my gifts: a cashmere scarf for Diane, a vintage whiskey decanter for Greg, a leather journal for Emily, and a fancy coffee maker for Mike. They were expensive, thoughtful, perfect, or so I thought. The first crack showed up during lunch. I was helping Diane in the kitchen, trying to make small talk, when she looked at my pies and said, "You know, Emily's very particular about her food. I hope these don't upset her stomach." I bit my tongue and said they were made with her allergies in mind. Diane just hummed, like she didn't believe me. At the table, Emily took one bite of the pecan pie and made this dramatic face, pushing the plate away. "Is there gluten in this?" she asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. I explained calmly that I used almond flour, like she'd mentioned last year. She rolled her eyes and muttered, "Well, it tastes off." Tom squeezed my hand under the table, but he didn't say anything. He never does. I get it. He's stuck between his family and me, and he hates conflict. But it's lonely when your husband won't stand up for you. I tried to focus on the kids opening their presents, laughing as Tom's nephew tore through the wrapping paper on the robot kit I got him. For a moment, it felt okay, like maybe I could belong here. Then came the gift exchange. We always do a secret Santa thing, and I got Emily. I was so excited to give her the journal. It was hand-stitched, embossed with her initials, something I thought she'd love since she's always scribbling in notebooks. She opened it, looked at it for 2 seconds, and said, "Oh, another notebook. Original." The room went quiet. I felt my face burn. "I thought you'd like it," I said, my voice small. "You're always writing." She shrugged and tossed it on the table. "I have enough of these." Diane jumped in then, her voice all sugary. "Emily, don't be rude. I'm sure it's nice." The way she said nice made it sound like I'd given her a used tissue. Greg chuckled, and Mike said something about how practical gifts are the best. I wanted to disappear. Tom changed the subject, but the damage was done. I felt like an outsider in a room full of people who were supposed to be my family. It got worse after lunch. We were all in the living room, sipping hot cocoa, when Diane started talking about their old family Christmases, before I was in the picture. "We used to have such simple, cozy holidays," she said, looking right at me. "Just the 5 of us. No fuss." I tried to laugh it off, saying how much I loved their traditions, but Emily cut in with, "Yeah, it was better before all the extra stuff." Extra stuff. That's me, apparently. I excused myself to the bathroom to keep from crying. I stood there, staring in the mirror, telling myself to pull it together. I didn't want to ruin Christmas, but when I came back, I overheard Diane in the kitchen, talking to Emily. "She tries so hard, doesn't she? It's almost sad." Emily laughed and said, "Yeah, like, relax. You're not one of us." I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it. I waited for someone, anyone, to defend me, but it was just silence. That's when something in me snapped. I'd spent years trying to win them over. And for what? To be their punching bag? I walked back into the living room, grabbed my coat, and started picking up the gifts I'd brought. Every single one. Tom looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "What are you doing?" he whispered. I didn't answer. I just kept going, piling the boxes into my arms. Diane gasped, "Are you seriously taking those?" I turned to her, my voice shaking but steady. "Yeah, I don't think you deserve them." I stood there in the living room, arms full of gift boxes, my heart hammering so loud I could barely hear the stunned silence around me. Diane's mouth was open, like she couldn't believe I'd actually done it. Emily smirked, like this was just proof I was unhinged. Greg shifted uncomfortably in his recliner, and Mike just stared at his phone, pretending he wasn't there. Tom was the only one who moved, stepping toward me with this pleading look in his eyes. "Babe, come on, let's talk about this," he said, his voice low, like he was trying to calm a wild animal. But I was done. I'd been bending over backward for his family for years, and I was tired of feeling like I had to earn a place at their table. I didn't plan to take the gifts back. It wasn't some calculated move. It was just instinct, like my body was saying, enough. I'd spent hundreds of dollars, hours of my time, and way too much emotional energy picking out those presents. The scarf for Diane? I'd hunted through 3 boutiques to find the exact shade of blue she loves. The whiskey decanter for Greg? I'd called his old college buddy to confirm his favorite brand. And Emily's journal? I'd spent weeks researching artisans online to get something unique. All for what? So they could treat me like the hired help who got the order wrong? I turned to Tom, my voice sharp. "Talk about what? How your family treats me like I'm some annoying guest who keeps showing up?" His face fell, and I felt a pang of guilt. Tom's not a bad guy. He's sweet, thoughtful, the kind of husband who leaves little notes in my lunch bag. But when it comes to his family, he's spineless. He'll whisper apologies to me later, but in the moment, he just freezes. And I was so tired of waiting for him to step up. Diane recovered first, her voice dripping with that fake sweetness she's mastered. "Oh, honey, don't be so dramatic. We're just joking around. You know how we are. Joking around." That's what she always says when Emily makes some cutting remark or Greg ignores me for the whole meal, like I'm too sensitive for not laughing at my own humiliation. I shook my head, clutching the gifts tighter. "No, Diane, I'm done with your jokes. I've been trying for years, and you've made it clear I don't belong here." Emily snorted, folding her arms. "Wow, so you're just gonna steal the gifts?" Real mature. That word, steal, lit a fire in me. "Steal?" I snapped, turning to her. "I paid for these. I wrapped them. I drove them 3 hours to this house. And you can't even say thank you before tossing them aside like garbage." My voice was louder than I meant it to be, and Tom's nephew, who'd been playing with his robot kid in the corner, looked up, wide-eyed. I felt a stab of shame. I didn't want to scare the kid, but I couldn't stop now. Greg finally spoke, his voice gruff. "You're making a scene. Put the gifts down and sit." It wasn't a request. It was an order, like I was a child who needed to be put in my place. I stared at him, my jaw tight. "No," I said. "I'm leaving, and I'm taking these with me." I turned toward the door, but Diane stepped in front of me, her face red now. "If you walk out that door with those gifts, don't expect to come back for Christmas dinner again." It was like she thought she was calling my bluff, like I'd crumble and apologize. I looked her dead in the eyes. "Good," and I walked out. The cold air hit me like a slap as I stepped onto the porch, the gift boxes wobbling in my arms. I heard Tom call my name, but I didn't stop. I shoved the gifts into the back of our car, my hands shaking so bad I dropped the coffee maker, denting the box. I didn't care. I got in the driver's seat and started the engine, half expecting Tom to come running out after me. But he didn't. The front door stayed closed, and all I could see in the rearview mirror was the glow of their stupidly perfect Christmas lights. I drove for 20 minutes before I had to pull over because I was crying so hard I couldn't see the road. I sat there in the dark, gripping the steering wheel, replaying every moment. The way Emily rolled her eyes, Diane's fake smile, Greg's silence, and Tom, God, Tom, standing there, doing nothing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back and dump the pies on their pristine living room rug. But mostly, I just wanted to know why I wasn't enough for them. Why no matter how hard I tried, I was always the outsider. I ended up at this hotel because I couldn't face the 3-hour drive home alone. I ripped open the gifts in a fit of rage, like reclaiming them would somehow make me feel better. It didn't. Now I'm sitting here, staring at a pile of crumpled wrapping paper and a $200 scarf I'll probably never use, wondering if I overreacted. Maybe I should have just swallowed it, like I always do. Maybe taking the gifts was petty, and I've ruined any chance of ever fixing things with Tom's family. But a part of me, a big part, feels like they don't deserve my effort anymore. I'm sitting in this hotel room, the TV flickering with some cheesy Christmas movie I'm not watching, the unwrapped gifts scattered across the bed like evidence of a crime I'm not sure I regret committing. My phone's been buzzing nonstop, Texts from Tom, a missed call from my sister, even a snarky message from Emily that I haven't opened yet. I keep replaying that moment when I grabbed the gifts and walked out, the way Diane's face twisted like I'd slapped her. It felt so good, so right to finally stand up for myself. But now, in the quiet, I'm wondering if I just burned a bridge I can't rebuild. And Tom, God, I don't even know where we stand. Let me back up a bit because to understand why I snapped, you need to know how I got here. I'm 32, a graphic designer, the kind of person who overthinks everything and probably cares too much about what people think. I grew up in a small family, just me, my mom, and my sister after my dad left when I was 9. Holidays were quiet, cozy, nothing like the chaotic, performative Christmases at Tom's parents' house. I met Tom 6 years ago at a friend's barbecue, and it was one of those instant connection things. He's warm, funny, the kind of guy who remembers your coffee order and makes you laugh when you're stressed. But his family? They're like a clique I was never invited to join. Tom's parents, Diane and Greg, are old school, traditional, the kind of people who think family is everything, and outsiders need to prove themselves. Diane's a retired schoolteacher who rules the house with this iron fist in a velvet glove vibe, and Greg's a stoic mechanic who'd rather fix a car than have a conversation. Emily, Tom's younger sister, is 28, a part-time influencer who's always posting about her perfect life, but in person, she's sharp-tongued and territorial. Mike, the older brother, is 35, single, and kind of a slacker who coasts on charm and family loyalty. They're tight-knit, almost suffocatingly so, and I've always felt like I'm on the outside looking in. When Tom and I got engaged, I thought things would get better. I'd be official, right? But the wedding planning was a nightmare. Diane had opinions on everything: the dress, the flowers, even the guest list. She once jokingly suggested I take their last name to really be part of the family. I laughed it off, but it hurt. I've tried so hard to fit in, showing up to every holiday, remembering birthdays, even hosting a disastrous Thanksgiving at our place 2 years ago, where Emily complained the turkey was dry. Tom always says they'll warm up eventually, but eventually never comes. This Christmas was supposed to be my big moment. I went all out. I spent $800 on gifts, maxed out my credit card to get things I knew they'd love. I practiced those pie recipes for weeks, double-checking Emily's allergies, even calling her doctor friend to confirm almond flour was safe. I wanted to show them I could be one of them, that I wasn't just Tom's wife. But every year, it's the same. Diane's backhanded compliments, Emily's eye rolls, Greg's silence, and Tom, standing there, caught in the middle, never quite choosing me. Today wasn't even the worst they've been. There was this one Easter where Emily accidentally spilled wine on my white dress and laughed it off, saying I should have known better than to wear white. Or last Christmas, when Diane gave me a vacuum cleaner as a gift, saying, "You're so busy, I thought you'd need the help." But today felt different. It wasn't just one jab, it was the weight of all of them, piling up until I couldn't breathe. Hearing Diane and Emily in the kitchen, laughing about how I'm not one of us, was the final straw. I've been trying to win them over for years, and I'm exhausted. Now I'm here, alone, staring at my phone. Tom's texts are a mix of apologies and pleas to come back. "I know they were harsh, but you didn't have to take the gifts," he wrote. "Can we talk?" I haven't responded. I don't know what to say. Part of me feels powerful, like I finally stood up for myself, but another part feels small, petty, like I stooped to their level. Did I ruin Christmas for everyone? Should I have just stayed quiet, eaten the pie, and smiled through it like always? And what about Tom? I love him, but I don't know if I can keep doing this, feeling like I'm fighting for a spot in his life while his family pushes me out. The gifts are sitting there, mocking me. The scarf, the decanter, the journal, the coffee maker. I don't even know what to do with them. Return them? Donate them? Burn them in a dramatic bonfire? All I know is, I couldn't leave them in that house, with people who don't even see me. But now I'm wondering if I'm the one who's wrong, if I let my anger get the better of me, and made everything worse. I'm still in this hotel room, the clock ticking past midnight, the Christmas movie on the TV now just static in the background. My phone's gone quiet, no more texts from Tom, no more snarky messages from Emily, just silence, heavy and thick, like the snow piling up outside. I keep replaying that moment when I walked out, the way the door slammed behind me, the gifts teetering in my arms. It felt like a movie scene, like I was finally the hero of my own story. But now, sitting here with a lukewarm glass of wine and a dented coffee maker box, I'm not so sure. Did I win, or did I just make everything worse? After I pulled over on the road crying so hard I could barely breathe, I drove to this hotel because it was the only place open on Christmas. The clerk at the front desk gave me a pitying look when I checked in. Probably because I looked like a mess. Mascara smudged, arms full of gift boxes, no luggage. I didn't care. I just needed somewhere to hide. Once I got to the room, I tore into the gifts like a kid on a tantrum, ripping off the wrapping paper and tossing it everywhere. It didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made me feel smaller, like I'd turned into the petty person they always thought I was. I finally opened Emily's text. It was short, venomous, real classy, taking the gifts. Hope you're proud of yourself. I wanted to fire back, to tell her she's the one who should be ashamed, treating me like dirt for years, but I didn't. I just deleted it and blocked her number. I don't have the energy to fight her anymore. Tom's texts are still sitting there unread. He sent 6 in a row, starting with, "Babe, please come back," and ending with, "I don't know what to do here." I don't either, Tom. That's the problem. The situation really spiraled when I got back to the living room after overhearing Diane and Emily in the kitchen. I'd been trying so hard to keep it together, to not let their words cut me, but not one of us? That hit like a punch to the gut. I walked in, my hands shaking, and started grabbing the gifts off the table. Tom's nephew, Ethan, was still playing with the robot kit I got him, and he looked up at me confused. "Auntie, are you taking my robot?" he asked, his little voice breaking my heart. I froze, the journal in my hand. "No, buddy," I said, forcing a smile. "Just the grown-up gifts," Diane snapped. "You're really doing this in front of the kids?" That's when I lost it. "Don't talk to me about the kids," I said, my voice louder than I meant. "You've been treating me like I don't belong here all day. All years. I'm done." I grabbed the scarf, the decanter, the coffee maker, everything I'd brought. Ethan started crying, and Emily jumped up, saying, "You're upsetting him. Just leave if you're going to be like this." That's when Diane delivered her ultimatum. "If you walk out with those gifts, don't come back." I didn't even hesitate. I said, "Good," and stormed out. But as I was shoving the boxes into the car, I heard Ethan sobbing inside, and it felt like a knife in my chest. I didn't mean to hurt him. I love that kid. Tom followed me to the porch but didn't stop me. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking torn. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. I whirled on him, the gifts slipping in my arms. "Then why didn't you say something, Tom? Why do you let them treat me like this?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. That's when I knew. He wasn't going to fight for me. Not really. I got in the car and drove off, leaving him standing there in the snow. Now I'm wondering if I escalated it too far. Maybe I should have just left quietly, without the gifts. Maybe I should have stayed and talked it out like Tom wanted. But every time I think about it, I remember Diane's voice, Emily's laugh, the way they made me feel like I was nothing. I couldn't stay in that house another second, pretending everything was fine. Taking the gifts wasn't about the money. It was about taking back something they didn't deserve. My effort, my care, my heart. But Ethan's face keeps popping into my head, and Tom's silence. Did I punish them all for what Diane and Emily did? Was I wrong to make a scene in front of the kid? I keep circling back to the same question. How do you keep loving someone when their family makes you feel like you're nothing? I don't know if Tom and I can come back from this. I don't even know if I want to. I'm still awake, the hotel room feeling smaller with every hour that passes. The wine's gone, and I'm nursing a cup of instant coffee from the room's cheap machine, trying to make sense of the mess I've made. My phone's dark now. No new texts, no calls. I keep checking it anyway. Like maybe Tom will say something that fixes everything. Or maybe Emily will send another jab that'll give me an excuse to stay angry. But it's just me, the hum of the heater, and the gifts staring at me from the bed. I keep thinking about Ethan's face, his little voice asking if I was taking his robot. That's what's eating me alive right now. Not Diane's ultimatum, not Emily's smirk, but the fact that I might have hurt a kid who didn't do anything wrong. Things got so much worse after I walked out. I didn't think it could, but it did. About an hour after I checked into the hotel, my phone lit up with a call from Tom. I let it go to voicemail, not because I didn't want to talk, but because I didn't know what to say. His message was short, his voice tight, like he was trying not to cry. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have said something. I didn't know it was this bad for you. Please call me back. I'm still at my parents' house, but I can come to you." I listened to it 3 times, my thumb hovering over the call button, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. Then my sister Lauren called. She's the one person I can always count on to have my back no matter what. I picked up, and the second I heard her voice, "Hey, what the hell happened?" I started crying again. I told her everything. The pies, the gifts, Emily's snark, Diane's "not one of us" comment, and how I stormed out with the presents. Lauren was quiet for a second, then said, "Good for you. They've been treating you like crap for years. But, are you okay?" I didn't know how to answer. Am I okay? I don't think so. I told her about Ethan, how he cried when I took the gifts, and she sighed. "Yeah, that's rough, but you didn't mean to upset him. You were just done." Anyone would have snapped. Her words helped, but they didn't erase the guilt. I kept thinking about how I could have handled it differently. Maybe I could have just left the gifts and walked out quietly. Maybe I could have pulled Tom aside and told him how I felt instead of making a scene. But every time I try to imagine staying calm, I hear Diane's voice in my head. That patronizing, "Oh honey, don't be so dramatic." It makes my blood boil all over again. I wasn't being dramatic. I was done. Then things escalated in a way I didn't expect. Around 9 p.m., there was a knock at the hotel room door. I froze, thinking maybe Tom had tracked me down. But when I opened it, it was Mike, Tom's brother. He looked awkward, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, snow still clinging to his boots. "Can I come in?" he asked. I was so shocked, I just stepped aside. He sat on the edge of the bed, glancing at the pile of unwrapped gifts, and said, "You really stirred things up back there." I braced myself for a lecture, but Mike surprised me. "I don't blame you," he said. "Mom and Emily can be a lot. I've seen how they treat you. Tom should have stepped in." I didn't know what to say. Mike's always been the quiet one, the one who just goes along with whatever Diane says. Hearing him acknowledge it felt like a lifeline. "Then why didn't you say something?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. He shrugged, looking guilty. "I don't know. It's easier to stay out of it, but I'm sorry. For what it's worth, Ethan's okay. He's just confused." We talked for a while, and he told me Tom was a wreck, stuck at the house trying to calm Diane down. Apparently she's been ranting about how I ruined Christmas, and how she always knew I was too sensitive. Emily's been egging her on, of course, saying I'm selfish and immature. Mike admitted he thinks they're being unfair, but he also said taking the gifts was intense. It gave them more ammo. I nodded, my stomach twisting. I knew he was right. I'd handed them a reason to paint me as the bad guy. Before he left, Mike asked if I'd talk to Tom. "He loves you," he said. "He's just stuck in the middle." I wanted to scream that I shouldn't have to beg my husband to choose me over his family, but I just nodded. After Mike left, I sat there, staring at the gifts. I thought about Ethan, about Tom, about the years I've spent trying to be good enough for people who don't want me. I don't know if I can go back to that house, even if they invite me. I don't know if I can keep pretending everything's fine, but I also don't know how to move forward with Tom if his family's always going to be this wall between us. It's almost 2 a.m. now, and I'm still wide awake, the hotel room starting to feel like a cage. The coffee's cold, the TV's off, and I'm sitting on the floor, leaning against the bed, staring at the gifts I tore open in a fit of rage. The scarf's tangled in a heap, the whiskey decanter's box is crushed on one side, and Emily's journal is sitting there like a silent accusation. I keep hearing Mike's words. Taking the gifts was intense. It gave them more ammo. He's right. I know he's right. But even now, part of me wants to double down, to say they didn't deserve a single thing I gave them. The other part of me is terrified I've just blown up my marriage, my family, my whole life over a moment of anger. This was the breaking point, the moment it all came crashing down. After Mike left, I finally worked up the nerve to call Tom. My hands were shaking as I dialed, and when he picked up, his voice was so soft, so broken, it almost made me cry again. "Where are you?" he asked. I told him about the hotel, about how I couldn't go home yet, how I needed space. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was this bad for you." That made me angry all over again. "How could you not know, Tom?" I snapped. "I've been telling you for years how they make me feel. You just didn't want to hear it." He didn't argue, which was worse somehow. He just said, "You're right. I should have stood up for you. I didn't know how." We talked for almost an hour, and it was raw, messy, the kind of conversation that leaves you feeling like you've been turned inside out. He admitted he's always been afraid of rocking the boat with his family, especially Diane. "She's my mom," he said, like that explained everything. "I know she's hard on you, but she doesn't mean it." I laughed, bitter. "Tom, she told Emily I'm not one of you. That's not hard on me. That's saying I don't belong." He went quiet again, and I could hear him breathing, like he was trying to find the right words. "I don't want you to feel like that," he said finally. "You're my family. You're everything to me." Those words should have made me feel better, but they didn't. Because if I'm everything to him, why didn't he say something when Emily tossed my gift aside? Why didn't he call his mom out when she made me feel like an intruder? I told him that, and he didn't have an answer. Just more apologies, more promises to fix it. But I don't know if this is fixable. Then came the real blow. Tom told me Diane called a family meeting after I left. Apparently, she and Emily were furious, saying I'd humiliated them by taking the gifts. Greg didn't say much, as usual, but he agreed I'd overstepped. Ethan was still upset, asking why Auntie was mad. Tom said he tried to defend me, Told them they'd been unfair, but Diane shut him down. She's not family if she can act like that, she said. Tom didn't push back hard enough, and I could hear the shame in his voice when he admitted it. I froze, he said. I didn't know how to make them listen. That's when I made my choice. I told Tom I wasn't coming back to his parents' house. Not for Christmas, not for Easter, not ever. I can't keep doing this, I said. I can't keep begging for a place in your family when they don't want me there. My voice cracked, and I hated how vulnerable I sounded. Tom started to say something, but I cut him off. You need to decide what you want, Tom, because I can't be your wife and feel like this forever. I hung up before he could respond, before I could take it back. It felt like ripping my own heart out, but I meant it. I can't keep living like this. Now I'm sitting here, replaying that call, wondering if I just ended my marriage. Tom's not perfect, but I love him. He's been my rock through so much. Job stress, my mom's cancer scare, all of it. But this feels like a betrayal I can't unsee. I keep thinking about Ethan too, and how I might have scared him. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to stop feeling invisible. Taking the gifts was my way of saying, I'm here, I matter. But maybe all I did was prove I'm as petty as they think I am. The climax of this whole disaster is that phone call. That moment when I told Tom to choose. It's not just about Christmas or the gifts. It's about whether he can put me first, really first, over his family's drama. I don't know what he'll do. I don't know what I'll do if he can't. All I know is, I'm done shrinking myself to fit into their world. But now I'm scared I've lost more than just a holiday. I'm still on the hotel room floor, the carpet rough against my legs, the pile of gifts looking more pathetic by the minute. It's past 3 a.m. now, and I haven't slept. My eyes are burning, my head's pounding, and I keep replaying that phone call with Tom, the way I told him to choose. It felt so final, like I'd drawn a line in the sand I can't erase. I love him. God, I love him, but I meant what I said. I can't keep living like a guest in my own marriage, always second to his family's approval. I'm trying to make sense of it all, to figure out if I'm the asshole here or if I was right to finally stand up for myself. But the truth is, I'm not sure. I'm just lost. I keep thinking about Ethan's face, his little voice asking about the robot. That's the part that hurts the most. I didn't mean to scare him, to make him think I was mad at him. I love that kid. I spent weeks picking out that robot kit, imagining how excited he'd be to build it. And he was, until I made a mess of everything. I keep wondering if I should have just left his gift behind, if that would have made me less of a monster in their eyes. But then, I think about Diane's voice, Emily's laugh, the way they've chipped away at me for years, and I'm angry all over again. Why should I keep giving to people who don't give a damn about me? I called my sister Lauren again after I hung up with Tom. It was late, but she picked up, her voice groggy but sharp the second she heard me crying. What now? She asked. I told her about the call, about telling Tom I was done with his family, about how I don't know if we can come back from this. She listened, didn't interrupt, just let me spill it all. When I was done, she said, You're not wrong to want respect, but you need to figure out what you want from Tom, because if he can't stand up to them, what's the point? Her words hit hard. What is the point? I married Tom because he made me feel safe, loved, like I was enough. But now I'm wondering if that was ever real, or if I've just been ignoring the cracks. I keep circling back to the gifts. Taking them was impulsive, maybe even childish, but it felt like the only way to take back something for myself. I'd poured so much into those presents, money, time, hope, and they treated them like nothing, like me. Returning them feels like admitting defeat, but keeping them feels wrong too. I thought about donating them, maybe to a shelter or a charity, but even that feels like a cop-out, like I'm trying to erase what I did. I don't know what to do with them, or with myself. I keep asking, was I wrong to take them? Was I wrong to walk out? Or was I wrong to stay quiet for so long, letting them walk all over me? Then there's Tom. I keep seeing his face in my mind, the way he looked on the porch, torn and helpless. I know he loves me, but love isn't enough if he can't stand up for me. I keep thinking about what Mike said, how Tom's stuck in the middle. But why am I always the one who has to compromise? Why is it my job to eat their insults with a smile while Tom stays silent? I don't want to lose him, but I don't want to lose myself either. And right now, I feel like I'm losing both. I'm scared of what comes next. If Tom chooses his family, I don't know if I can stay. But if he chooses me, what does that even look like? Cutting them off entirely? That feels impossible. He's so close to them, especially Ethan. And I don't want to be the kind of person who makes him choose between me and his nephew. But I can't go back to that house, to those fake smiles and cutting remarks. I can't keep pretending I'm okay with being the outsider. I keep asking myself if I overreacted, if I could have handled it better, if I'm the one who's broken everything. But then I remember Diane's words. not one of us. And I think, maybe I'm not the one who broke it. Maybe it was never whole to begin with.